re-engage them to join. It's very important because the session of today, I'm not the one introducing it, but I will say one or two things. Like the session of today affects everybody. I was just reflecting, you know, dealing with a difficult boss at work. Everybody's affected. There's hardly anyone that has not encountered a difficult boss. And if you say you've always been an entrepreneur, then you must have maybe been a difficult boss, who knows? Or you might be doing something in that spectrum that you might not know. So, and I also saw some data and some statistics that says people resign. People resigning, major reason why people resign all over the world is as a result of a difficult boss. One of the major reasons is because of a difficult boss. I actually saw that simple analysis, you know, man, and I'm like, this topic is very, very important. It's high time we spoke about it. A lot of people are dealing with difficult bosses and it's affecting, you know, their productivity and mental health at work. So I hope people really join really pretty soon. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of stories to exchange, I'm sure. A lot of experiences, not stories, life experiences to address. Okay, so yeah. Just as people join in, I will just reintroduce this series, Workers' Mental Health and Safety. We hold it every second Sunday of the month, and we made it so for consistency and so that we have enough content, real life content. We like to be as practical as possible. So we try to handle real life scenarios as it affects the mental health and safety of workers. You know, in Nigeria, we usually try to bring it to the Nigerian context because it has to be as practical as possible. And who are these people? I've been saying we. Yeah, so we have our safety consultant now, Mr. Wali, who is the co-host as well, Mr. Wali Adegoke, with years of experience in safety and safety advocacy as well. And also, when we talk about safety, we're also talking about psychological safety at work. So it has a lot to also do with mental health. He owns and is the strategic director of Coda Safety Consult. He's going to talk more about that towards the end of this session. And Coda Safety Consult is one of the major sponsors of this program. And along with me, my humble self, Bumi Jasmine Umeke, I'm a lawyer. A safety advocate, not a safety practitioner, so I have to differentiate. I'm a safety advocate. That's someone who is very interested in safety and does everything, you know, legally, you know, everything legally related to safety. I'm also an HR practitioner, so my career is tripartite and related. And as we go on with this session, you will see how related these fields can really be. Legal, HR, safety. You really see the connection because that is what this program actually does. So today we'll be taking a very, very important topic. Our topics are always very important. And today we'll be talking about dealing with a difficult boss at work. When we say dealing, is it talking about fighting or exchanging blows? Because when you say, I will deal with you, you know, but that's not what we're saying here. How do you handle, how do you manage or how do you cope with a difficult boss at work? So Wally is going to do an introduction of that topic and then we take it up from there.
All right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Bumi Jasmine Umeke, 3% HR practitioner, lawyer, and a safety advocate. So straight to today's topic, we're talking about how to handle, but in a formal context, how to manage a difficult boss. We have situations where who is a boss? A boss can literally be anybody. Your boss can be your direct supervisor. Your boss can be the manager. Your boss can be the owner of the company. Your boss can even be your client. Your boss can be your client. You know, even if you are a sole proprietor person, if you are an entrepreneur, you work alone, you still need some people to engage you, to buy your services, to get what you do. So definitely you one way or the other need them to actually come into you. From there, they become your boss one way or the other. So there are so many
True.
areas, so many ways that you can find yourself in a situation where you need to deal with different kinds of people. Like we say, for you to be able to expand your knowledge, your expertise, be eloquent, for you to be able to move up your career, people are always obstacles. There are challenges that you need to meet. Apart from your intellectual skill of what you can deliver, how do you relate with human? How do you communicate with people? How do you create that positive client relationship? And it has to do a lot with understanding the different behaviors of different people and creating a balance and being able to manage them. So today we'll be having a scenario where a lady called Bolu is, that's not the real name actually, called Bolu, and
Yeah.
this person, I want us to follow this story. This lady happened to be the head of a HR of a company that is one heading the human resource department of a particular accounting firm. And in the course of running of the organization, there was an allegation that the firm accused four of the staffs for diverting some monies that belongs to the company for their own personal use. They diverted. There was a case that it was observed during an audit that they diverted the money that belongs to the organization for their personal use. Also, two out of them were alleged to have circumvented clients in the firm. Two out of them are taking the client that belongs to the company and they are now dealing with them directly as individuals. So these four staffs have been placed on indefinite suspension. Yes, they suspended them. That okay, these people have been suspended, and Olu has been asked by the MD, managing director, to give an advice on this termination. Okay, we have suspended these people. Now, you are the head of the HR, human resource. You are the one that's supposed to deal directly with this. What you advise us to do? To help with the advice, she needed a report for the investigation panel. She needs to get a report. There are some panels that are investigating the issue of the circumvention and also of the theft that happened. So he needs to get the report from this team that are investigating this issue. The head of this panel is the same MD that has told him to give them advice. And he has been avoiding our mails requesting for the report. Now, the person that is requesting for, that is telling, that has requested for the advice on the termination is the one heading the panel. And this same panel, Mrs. Bolu will need to get the report from this same panel. So it's like a circle. And this same person that is requesting for advice is refusing to respond to the mails of the HR. Earlier on, the MP called a meeting and blamed Bolu for the delay in giving the advice. Bolu didn't want to be confrontational, so she kept mute. This kind of thing happens a lot of time.
Yes.
The person that is requesting you to provide a particular document or to provide a particular report, you need that person to do one or two things before the report can be complete. And this person
is making it difficult for you to do the work.
Yeah, and it's making it, and this person is accusing you publicly that you are not doing your job. Meanwhile, you've been sending multiple mails for the report from the person as the head of the panel, and the person has been avoiding you. This is a very critical situation. If you are the one, I'm seeing a number of people here. If you are the one, what will you do? What advice will you give Mrs. Bolu? How do you advise her to go about it? And we also want you to help us to identify the behavior that you have seen, maybe from her or from the boss, that might affect the workplace productivity. Because at the end of the day, there's a breach of communication. At the end of the day, there is no unity. At the end of the day, issues are happening concerning hierarchy and the likes, and responsibilities and accountabilities. So now, this will, at the end of the day, affect productivity. So you as an individual, if you find yourself in that position, what advice will you give I've been trying to call Mrs. Money. What advice will you give Mrs. Bolu? So that is the discussion for today. So, looking at it, I can spot a number of behaviors from there. I'll give it to my colleague to tell us some of these behaviors that you have observed, and how do you manage such situations.
Okay. Sorry, I will be a bit academic, but it's important that we get to the roots and we analyze everything, the entire storyline. So I'm going to do a bit of analysis as a lawyer. So pardon me. It might look boring from the start until you get to where Waliu is taking us to with regards to mental health. Okay, so let's start from the people that the alleged offense and how it's being treated. Let's even start from there. So there's the legal and there's the HR part to it. You know, when there's an alleged theft at work, you know, and circumventing of clients, that's turning clients that belongs to your organization to your own. That's already some kind of misconduct, some kind of, I would say, some kind of anti-social work behavior, because it makes the workplace not functional. You are working against the organization. That's a provocative action in every way. You are working against the intent and purpose of them. You are draining the organization. So such kind of action, some kind of behavior should not even be tolerated, should not be in the workplace at all. So there's every reason to discipline, to take a disciplinary action against such behavior. Now, talking about disciplinary action, in this scenario, disciplinary action that was taken was indefinite suspension, most likely without pay. And that is the reason why the owner of the company is seeking the HR's opinion, because he knows that somehow there's something around the law that doesn't support that action. And I'll tell you, a lot of people don't know that suspending someone without pay can be a legal issue. It depends on the employment contract. What has been written in the employment contract in regards to the disciplinary action towards a particular misconduct. So that is why it is important in every workplace, so that there's no issue of discrimination, there's no issue of unlawful termination. It is very important that everything is documented. When I mean documented, there's an employee's handbook. There's a code of conduct for the organization that says, if you do this, this is the disciplinary procedure. So if until we investigate, this is what will happen to you. This will be your issue. And there should be a timeline for the investigation. So you cannot suspend somebody indefinitely. You are not paying the person's salary, and you say you're investigating. What if the person did not do it? You understand? So that is the situation in that particular scenario. It's important that we highlight this so that you will know the reason. The director, I mean the owner of the place, is actually seeking the HR. He's trying to coerce the HR into saying something that will support a probably illegal action or procedure. That is what he's probably trying to do here. And while he's going to explain that kind of behavior even more. So the thing is, what is supposed to be done in this situation is that those workers are meant to follow the disciplinary action is supposed to be taken against them in line with the laid down rules and procedure, not in line with a law they don't know anything about. So if you are suspending them indefinitely, there must be a timeline for the suspension, there must be a timeline for the investigation, there must be a timeline for the report, which we can't see in this scenario. And that is what the director is trying to, you know, kind of trying to pass the vaccine or something. So that is what I have to say about that particular, the part of that scenario. I will leave the next for Waliu to touch on.
You see, what I observed while you were having your discussion, while you're educating us, is the fact that, I'm coming please, what I observed is the fact that I think there are some claims that are trying to occur. I can see some kind of politics. I'm trying to look at so many areas to this. I remember while I was working as a technical operator at Dangote Cement then, there's this thing that the engineers used to do. You know, like you said, you were talking about laws. If it comes to engineering operations processes, we'll be talking about standard or procedures, laid down procedures. There's a particular procedure. There's what we call kin. You know, if you are going beside cement industries, you see one kind of cylindrical, one long cylindrical stuff like this. That is no, they call it the kiln. That is where the heating process takes place. Now, that is where they burn the clinker. So through the walkie-talkie or what do they call it, they will tell you because we are run on the system. Fire the kiln at so speed. They will tell you the right speed. They will now go behind. They will now call you on a regular call. Baba, fire this thing more. Maybe maybe
Are you serious?
maybe because they want to get good report that they are actually more productive. It will appear that their KPI. Maybe the kiln is supposed to run at maybe, for example, just a random figure. Maybe it's supposed to run at 100 rounds per minute or 100 rounds per minute. And maybe they have lost some hours, maybe due to maintenance, and they don't want those hours to reflect, or those repair hours to reflect. So to cover up, they now go behind and tell you that, Mr. Man, fire this thing at 120 or 130. Because what they're trying to avoid is that, because if anything should later happen, they will tell you that they told you to fire at 100, that you don't have fired at 120. So I'm seeing that kind of a thing. Maybe the kind of a structure that is being operated there is putting the HR in a very tight corner.
Exactly.
Who knows? The MD might actually also know about that issue.
Yes.
So the MD might know about it.
Because of auditors, because of external auditors pretending.
Yes. The MD might know about it, might know about the issue, but we will not. We want to appear officially like he's also handling, and it is Mrs. This, that is. So I'm seeing a kind of passive aggressive personality there, where you are trying to make someone get angry. You are attacking him not directly. You are attacking him indirectly. You are attacking her in non-violent ways, indirectly. But otherwise, we call it passively. And you are doing this because you don't want people to see you as a bad person. You are trying to protect your own image and indirectly attacking the person without people knowing it. Because the person has sent mail to you, and you've avoided the mail, and you're coming publicly to say that the lady is one.
Can you imagine that?
And we have people that have this kind of behaviors in every aspect of life, where they try to provoke you indirectly. It's not until someone punch you, someone can use words, someone can use body language, someone can use attitudes to try to pass a very aggressive message to you. But it is you that is the type that always want to voice out, or if it meets you in a very unhappy way, you want to express yourself. At the end of the day, they nail you. Meanwhile, they don't understand the preceding event. So what I advise this kind of, number one, talking about passive, let me first talk about passive aggressive personality. They have so many characteristics. Part of their characteristics is that they procrastinate. A job that they're supposed to do now, a particular job, they will not do it. They might do it deliberately because maybe they know that the boss needs that report to be submitted, and they will deliberately delay that report because they want to provoke that boss. We have them in the workplace, and that kind of routine will end up affecting the mental health of the boss, because the boss will want to meet up. It might result in pressure, it might result in anger, which can affect the unity that can lead to productivity in the workplace. You see, like you mentioned the other time, psychological safety. Mental health without psychological safety is blind. And psychological safety without mental health is lame. Both of them work together. Because talking about psychological safety, ability for people to be able to share opinions, speak out, respond to situations. If this kind of person with passive aggressive behavior is in the workplace, then there is issue. And another characteristic that they have is that they deliberately keep something from being done. They are not efficient. So this kind of behavior is more, like I said, in more situations in the workplace, but we also have it in people in their normal way of life, living their normal life. You see it, they
Yes,
express it, and it is now left for you to manage this kind of behaviors. The passive aggressive personality never really confront a problem directly. They don't
they
confront
won't.
it directly. They won't.
Mm.
Behavior which resolves to
You'll
no
be the
problem
one
solving
shouting,
skills.
hey, hey, hey. If you
Yeah,
don't know them, if you're not able
yeah.
to identify them and know how to cope with them, you'll be the one shouting, hey, and they're quiet, and you don't know nobody knows what is going on. And they're like, why are you making noise?
Why making an
You know?
meanwhile they know that someone secretly is actually the one that is triggering the anger
Yes,
and the
yes,
provocation, and they
yes,
end up making you to do what you are not supposed to do. So
to do.
so those are the behaviors. But if I would advise Mrs. Bolu, what I would advise her is that, Madam, you have your evidence. Your boss, yeah, that's the managing director. They might be part of the committee that are into the investigation panel. They have their mails. You can forward the mails to them and
Exactly.
let them know that this mail dated so has been sent to request for the
Yes,
report. That without the
yes,
report, she needs to speak out, but with
mm,
diligence, because here you are
yes,
speaking with your boss, you are speaking with
yes,
a superior person. No matter what, one
yes,
person will be the goat, one person will be the sheep. You need
exactly.
to speak out, but with humility, with respect, with dignity,
Respect.
and in ways that the actual issue will be addressed and nothing personal will be attached to the discussion. So that would be my own advice. So I will leave it to you for you to continue on the discussion.
Okay, so like Walia said, in fact, he just enumerated what I think should be done in this scenario. So I will talk about from an HR point of view, because she's the head of HR, so it's easy for me to advise Bolu. I would advise her, and I will also talk about some general tips, we can apply, because somehow we find ourselves in this kind of workplaces where we have the passively aggressive boss, even the actively aggressive boss that we have to cope with. We are talking about a passively aggressive boss now. There are some bosses that are not just passive, they are very aggressive. And somehow you find yourself in those kind of workplaces. What do? You are there to earn a living. You really don't, you are not really prepared to live. What do? We cannot pretend that we don't encounter these situations. We encounter them. I can beat my chest that there's hardly anyone that has worked for, say, 10 years and 10 years and above, and have not witnessed such kind of bosses that are so difficult to work with. But we coped anyway. So what are these ways of coping? So addressing the situation, as Wali has said, I think that Bolu needs to document everything that all her conversation with the boss. She needs to be less confrontational, because it's her boss. A boss is always a boss. You are not there to change your boss. You are not there to change his behavior. You are not there to make him behave better. You are there to cope with his behavior and adjust your own behavior to be able to fit the work setting. So the first thing she needs to know is that she's not to confront him. She's not to be confrontational. That's one. Then the second thing she needs to do is to document all her communication with him. So like while you had it, if you have to talk to the other members of the team that are into the investigation, please do. And if you are going to she can even go ahead with her report by talking about the indefinite suspension, talking about the position of the law if it continues indefinitely. She can as well just give and say that, well, this report has been given not based on, without the following facts. We don't know if they actually committed the offense just yet, because we haven't even gotten anything from the panel. So she also needs to write that in her. So there's a way to go about your report. Even send the report to the boss and say, I'm writing this report based on the fact that, I have not had enough facts. It's still an alleged offense, but these are the things I think we should do, and this is the report. So with that, he knows that he's dealing with somebody that is smart, he's dealing with somebody that is humble, that is observant, someone that will not put his organization into disrepute, because by doing that, she's also trying to save the organization. If these suspended staff drag the organization to court, he won't have a Bolu to contend with. He will have the courts to contend with, So that is that for that scenario. Now, talking about tips with dealing with a difficult boss, there are three major things I was able to enumerate from experience and from, from knowledge, First of all, the first thing you do is try to improve your relationship with your boss. Second thing you do is, I'm going to explain that. Second thing you do is maintaining the right mindset. I'm talking about scenarios where you don't have an option. You have to work in these places. I've said that before, and I'm saying that again. We need this kind of situation where we just have to be there. We have to earn a living. We have to cope with this kind of people. Then the third part is taking further action. So I'm going to start with the first part, improving your relationship. In improving your relationship with your boss, you could find time to actually sit your boss down and have a conversation with him. Yeah. So in having that conversation, you need to focus on the issues and not on your emotions. You need to not tell him that I think you are this. You need to be able to tell him this is the issue as it relates to work, as it affects work and productivity. And this is how I think we should deal with it. I think this is a part of our policy that we should embrace, and I think we should amend our policy this way. So it's not you telling your boss that I think you're a very harsh boss, I think you don't listen to me, I think you're attacking me. He's not going to listen to you. So you find a way to get him through work, to get him to see how your conversation ties to how it ties to the benefit of the organization, not how you emotionally feel. How what you're addressing will affect the organization positively. That is what the boss wants to hear, And also you need to work with him and not against him. So it's not a situation where you see that your boss is already difficult. There are some things that must have informed his behavior. Might just be situations at home. Might not be finding it funny in maybe his marital affairs, or he might be going through some stuff you don't know anything about. So it's not you always trying to antagonize him, like trying to show him that I know more than you. You can't. What you're saying is totally wrong, or you're trying to work against him. Then you've already showed that you're not meant to be in that place. He's no longer the boss, and it's going to make situations really worse. So always also anticipate issues. Be very proactive. It's enough that your boss is difficult, and it's more terrible if you are if you are inefficient. If you're an inefficient individual, you're not a proactive person, you're laid back, it will be more difficult for you. So if you're working with those kind of bosses, I don't know, now saying using the word difficult boss can mean several things, but these are just the general principles that you can apply in improving your relationship with your boss. Now, talking about maintaining the right mindset, that has a lot to do with you. It includes you always taking responsibility for your errors, for your mistakes, because no matter how good you are in the workplace, or no matter how difficult you are, how difficult your boss is, there are some times that you make mistakes. There are some times he will confront you with your mistakes, and it's not the time for you to show, is actually a difficult, and generalize it and just rationalize it rather, that I think he's just a difficult person. He's always speaking O's in my work. It is time for you to actually take responsibilities for your mistake and try to correct it. And also, you need to understand that he is still the boss. So it's not you that will change, the game for him or tell him to change on the job. It is you that would adjust, like we've mentioned before. So you need to also move with the right mindset. And these are what I think are the basic mindsets you need to move with. Then the last part is taking further action. When you've tried these initial steps that we enumerated, sometimes you might need to take further actions for your own mental health, and you might need to plan it. And the first thing is exit. If you feel it is not a place that you can mentally cope anymore, really, unfortunately, sometimes you cannot define it, you cannot control the situation, you have to leave. Sometimes in a well-structured environment where you're not dealing with the boss directly, he's also an employee like you, but you report to him, you might want to escalate. You might want to talk to your supervisor, you might want to talk to somebody who is higher than him about it. And then if you feel discriminated against, I hope and I pray that the Nigerian environment wakes up to that is able to defend employees who are discriminated against in the workplace, even if it's one-man business. I pray and I wish that we get to that point, So sometimes you need to talk to a lawyer especially when it comes to unlawful termination or unlawful suspension. You might need to talk to a lawyer about it. There are implications, there are wider implications depending on the circumstances of the case. So you might need to talk to a lawyer. And also, you might also exploit being transferred. Like I said, if it is a structured environment, you know, like a global organization, you can exploit transfer if you feel, you know, kind of victimized or kind of harassed, you know, in such a way that it's difficult for you to legally, you can try to work your transfer from that particular department. Also, of course, like I said, if it's what for you to take a leave to exit, please do for your own mental health. We've addressed this situation before in one of our series where we said, would you choose a lower paying job? You know, will you leave a higher paying job for a lower paying job if you feel, you know, unhappy in the higher paying job? And a lot of people said, yes, they will. Some people said no for some certain reasons. But we all know that, you know, they say health is wealth. It's only someone who is sane, who is in their right senses, that can actually work. So if you are in a work environment that is consistently affecting your mental health, you might want to start working your exits. We cannot overemphasize that. And lastly, while you work your exits, check where you are going. There are some organizations that before joining them, you know that it's an hostile environment. People would have said one or two things about it. We even have some kind of recruitment platforms now that talk about these companies. You can actually assess, more like what they call it now, more like an assessment. Like you can talk about how good they treat employees online. You know, I think Glassdoor Jobs or one of these recruitment platforms does that. So you can check organizations and know how they treat their employees just before you join them. So these are the tips I have for dealing with a difficult boss, handling, coping with a difficult boss at work. So over to you, Waliu, to round up our session for the day.
So, thank you very much, Mrs. Bumi, for that robust and educating session. What I would say is that no matter where you go, you must always have someone with a particular behavior that you need to deal with.
Correctly.
So as individuals, we should learn how to manage different behaviors. We've spoken about passive-aggressive behavior today, and one other one. We also talk about antisocial behaviors. There are so many kind of behaviors. There are some people that are the quiet type. There are some people that have schizophrenia. Some people have personality disorders, different personality disorders, and they also need to work. They also need to work with you in the workplace. Some people, this minute they are happy, overexcited. Next minute they are sad and they are down, like they are going to commit suicide. And they also need to work with you. How do you manage these kind of behaviors? How do you establish yourself to be able to cope with people with different? Some people are workaholic, and you might meet a boss like that. Some people are playful, and you might meet a boss like that. Some people want their job to be done 100%. All eyes are dotted and all T's are crossed. Or how do they say it? And you need to be able to work with such person. Different people, different folk with different strokes. So being able to manage or learn how to adapt to different people's behaviors is a very great skill, and it requires different individual person understanding what it likes and what it doesn't, and try to balance it with your own lifestyle and the ability for you to and the ability for you to be able to express yourself in the best of ways that will not provoke the other person. The reason why we are saying this is that we want to build a workforce. We want to build a workplace where everybody will be able to work with their correct mental health state. They will be able to work in the right mental health state, because mental health is one of those factors that affect the productivity of individuals in the workplace. The individuals make up the workplace. The individuals are the greatest resource you can ever have. That's the human resource. So, and there are a lot of things that affect individuals: physical health, psychological health, including mental health. So, and the mental health affect them way more than we even imagine.
Yeah.
And one of those things that affect mental health is also the behaviors, how different people behave. So you as an individual, you
Yeah.
should learn how to manage people's behavior and also be able to portray a good behavior, understand your own behavior, go through therapeutic interventions, and be able to bring out the best in you. And that's about managing or effectively understanding different behaviors in the workplace. And that takes us
Maybe some
to
people
the
might
end.
want to say something. If you, in
Yeah,
case you want to say something, you want to come in,
yeah, I've
please.
requested
We'll accept
if you
you.
have things to say, please. What's your opinion? We related a story about Mrs. Bolu who happened to be the HR of the company. There was issue of theft, robbery, there was issue of theft, money laundering, and clients circumvention, and they needed to give them disciplinary actions. Unfortunately, the head of the panel is the boss who refuses to respond to Mrs. Bolu's emails, and the same boss came outside during the meeting to accuse Mrs. Bolu of not sending the report. Meanwhile, he is the one delaying. What do we advise Mrs. Bolu to do? Please, if you have, and what do you understand by behaviors? What behavior have you experienced in the workplace? How do you manage a particular
Exactly.
person? It's not
Exactly.
compulsory
We'd like
that
to hear your story.
it's
Mm.
not compulsory that it must be from subordinate to boss. It can even be
Yes.
your junior colleague that be showing some
Yes.
kind of
Exactly.
behaviors that you don't like. You
Mm.
know, like the current slang now, they say, what did they do you? You dey argue with cultists. You won't collect.
Mm.
Say you wan collect from cultists. You know, people start calling themselves to cultists. And if you find yourself in a situation whereby your junior colleague is threatening you that, hey, Oga, you won't collect. They give me job anyhow, you
Abio.
won't collect. If they give job, cultists. If they give cultists job, how do you manage a kind of aggressive junior colleagues? If you have suggestions, opinions, how you've managed such, it can even be contractors in the workplace. So contractors, they are workers, all these technical workers, carpenters, all these welders, how and they have different behavior. How do you manage them in the workplace? And that is what we have discussed today.
So if you want to say something, you can write in the comment box. You can join us live. If you send a request, you can join us live and say one or two things about coping with a difficult boss in the workplace. We have the next 10 minutes to do that, and would appreciate your contribution as much as possible so that we can also learn from your own life experiences. If it's not something that
Yeah.
you would like to show your face or something, maybe because of confidential issues or whatever, you can send in your comments and then we can also talk about it. Thank you. And
Okay.
yeah, so we're waiting to hear
Mr.
from you.
Abraham, you can see. Thanks for coming. Aluta Rep,
Yeah,
thanks for coming. I think that you followed me. Uh,
yes.
Kumi Tinwabi, what is that? I
Kumi.
can see it in
Yeah,
there.
that's my
Kumi,
learned colleague, Kimi Otinwa.
okay,
Yeah.
Leonard, yeah.
Yeah.
Vasnani, thanks for joining. Bola Onime, Ken 3OK. I mean, we appreciate your presence. Mr. Emmanuel Veje, you can drop it in the comment section how you've been able to manage different kind of people in different spheres. Or we actually come across this thing in every aspect.
Yes, we do.
In every aspect. Even if you are a seller, maybe you sell phones or you sell stuffs. People that come to buy your goods, people just imagine you are selling Gary now. You are selling Gary, and someone comes to come and buy Gary, and he's testing it. He's testing. He keeps on testing it, and it's almost testing like one delica. you know, it's a behavior. Some people don't have shame. How you be testing Gary and you be
When
testing
you are
like almost
knowing
a
the
delica?
label,
You,
you feel like
you now
pouring the
get
whole
home.
jerry by their face.
No, you now get home and go and drink water, and so that you are satisfied for today. If you meet that kind of person, if you meet that kind of person, how will you manage that kind of person coming to your
I'm
shop
telling
to buy
you.
something? Eh? Some people will come and buy something and they will price it, they will price you, price it, price it, price it, price it, price
And
it,
after it,
negotiate, negotiate.
they will not, it's those Instagram vendors I used to
After,
pity.
after they will tell you that I didn't bring my money.
I'm telling you. It's
How do
those
you manage
Instagram
there?
vendors I used to pity. Sometimes after talking, I render services, some kind of service as an aside, a side business. And some people will come to your inbox and they will talk. And after you've engaged them for like 30 minutes, they'll get this, I'll get back to you.
They will never get back. It's not a force.
I'll get back to you and you don't hear from them again. So we will block yourself.
So different people with different behaviors,
Yeah.
in the workplace with your clients,
Mm.
you have some kind of people, like, for example, there was a particular day I was going around just to expand my business, just walk randomly to organizations, knock on their door and tell them that we want to introduce our company to you. And at the
Oh,
security gate,
somebody just sent a question while let's quickly address it. She sent a private question. So he said,
okay,
please, how do you report your boss knowing he will, how do you manage the blowback from him for reporting him? Please, how do you report your boss knowing he will know you laid the complaint about him? How do you? Okay. I think he's talking about a situation where you escalate something your boss did to an higher authority, and then the boss knows that you are the one that did it. How do you handle the situation? Of course, even the people that are reporting to, they know that your boss has, that there's a what they call it, there's a probability. I mean, there's an higher probability that your boss will try to victimize you after reporting it. They know. And that's why we always say that these things need to be documented. And also note that even the report that you are doing shouldn't be a false allegation. Should be something that you can substantiate, that this is what he actually did, and you can defend what you reported. It's not just some kind of random or rumor or something. And the person who is higher to him that you've reported to, they know that there's a tendency, that's what I was looking for, there's a tendency of him victimizing you. And in an organization that has policy and laid down procedures, you are protected. You should have been protected. As long as that report is not a false allegation or some kind of random rumor or something like that. And it relates to work anyway. It's not some kind of gossip. It's something that relates to work. So you should follow the normal reporting line. Follow the normal your employees handbook. And if you are victimized, if you feel victimized, you should report to the same place, the same authority you reported to. You should report to them, and the same panel, and state the evidence, state the receipts of your victimization. So that's what I would say that kind of environment.
What I would say is, all these things have to do with how, it's going to be in writing. If it's in writing, how you are able to structure your words, how you're able to use words, and how you're able to communicate the message. One thing I always do if I want to if I want to maybe respond to something, I try as much as possible to focus on the issue and not focus on the process.
Yeah, hi.
You get what I'm saying now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I said,
so someone just joined us.
Yeah, please, just let me round up this. I'm saying that instead of addressing the person, okay, maybe you want to report to your boss and you are scared that the boss might bounce back. Don't let it appear like you are addressing the boss.
Exactly.
Let it appear like you are addressing the issue.
The issue as it affects work. I think that's what we miss sometimes. Yes.
Yes, and try as much as possible to be diligent, to be fluent, and try as much as possible to have enough evidence to be sure of what you are talking about. Exactly. Don't let it appear like you are putting your emotions. So sometimes, my boss, when I was in work, my boss used to correct me. Sometimes, if I write a mail, you will read my emotions all through the mail. You read that.
I can
You read
relate.
my emotions. That you say, Wali was
Wally,
angry
I
when
can
he was writing
relate.
this. Wali was angry when he was writing this bill. Wali was angry. And there are some mails that you write that you can call someone a fool, and the person you accept being a fool in a very sweet way. So
Yes.
the way you write your mail goes a long way in its interpretation. So writing a mail in a way that it addresses the issue strictly will go a long way in a lesser issue than trying to write it in a way that everybody will know that no, you're having
And
personal issues with your boss. So that is what I would just advise.
okay,
Yeah.
please, just a quick one, please.
Welcome. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you
Sorry.
introduce yourself? Just your first name, please.
Okay, my name is Vote.
Your name is?
Okay.
Vote.
Vote
VOTE.
Daniel.
Okay.
Vote.
Is
Yeah,
that Daniel
Vote
Vote,
Daniel.
right? Am I correct?
That's it.
You're welcome, sir.
I just need to put some clarifications. Besides Shell, Chevron, and maybe LNG and the rest of the multinational that has a functional HSC system, most of all these upcoming companies do not have that system that could protect an employee when he reports his superior. You get, and most times they are always cabal in all these companies.
Yeah,
The
right.
boss to your boss, they are all in a cabal. So I think Waliu said something that I could actually take. Attacking the issue,
Yes.
not reporting the person. Because if you report someone, if it's a job that you're a staff, that you might be there for the next 20 years. If you do that,
Yes.
your boss will see you as a witch
Of
till
course.
he retires.
And it is victimizing you.
So
True.
I think it's either you address the issue or
And leave the
you
person
talk
out
to
of it.
him respectfully. You
Yes.
address him respectfully. Tell him or her, this is what you, just respectfully cajole him. Then if he doesn't, then I think for you to go and report him when you know fully well that it will bounce back on you, it's better you don't. If you address him and he doesn't, either you plan
Because
your
at the end
exit
of it, it's protecting your job, right? And you see
exactly.
the unfortunate thing is against the organization. And again, either way, it depends on the position you take in that organization. Whether you choose to address it at that point or you don't choose to address it, it might come back to you later. Take, for
Sorry.
example, is an issue that seriously affects your work. If you don't report it, if you decide that, because you don't want it to look as if you are reporting this person,
Exactly.
even when you know
Exactly.
reporting that issue will also entail, it will involve that person. Sometimes you are
Exactly what I
just
want to
left
say.
with,
So,
you are just left with two bad choices. Let me put in quotes. And you have to take
Mr.
the
Vote.
better one.
Yeah,
Yes.
Sorry,
okay.
Mr. Vote. What I want to say now is related to what Mr. Boone just said. If you don't talk about the issue, it will bounce back to you. What if you are
It's
in that
you.
situation that if you don't report it, it will bounce back to you? It's like you are the victim. You never become the
Yes.
victim if you don't say anything. Just like
I
the
have
story
been
that
the
we
victim
related.
of
So what do you
because
do in that situation?
the whole thing is like what you say.
Network.
Network.
Yeah.
Nigerian network.
When you are in Nigeria, we will
I'd
know.
love to hear from him. I really love to hear what he has to say. Yeah.
I think
That was an
you
interesting one you brought,
just
though.
take him out
That
and
was a
try
very
to see
interesting
if
one. Yes.
take him out and try to make him come back.
Okay.
Maybe that will work.
How do I even take people out now?
Okay,
Okay.
he's
He
out
has left.
already.
He's out,
Yeah,
yes.
maybe we try to join.
Yeah. So yeah,
So,
it's
Mr.
sometimes it depends on the
Obiasoji,
circumstance.
thanks for
The
coming. We
safest,
appreciate you for coming.
yeah. Social, Idowu, Onfrey,
Social Idowu.
yeah.
All right.
I said just like the issue was painting. I mean, even though we do not have like the full picture of the scenario, right? But sometimes it comes to that you have to choose whether to report now or to get into trouble later. And a lot of times we want to be passive and postpone the evil days, especially with your field, safety. I've seen a lot, I've had like 3 safety officers come to me for legal protection because they got into trouble.
Mm.
You understand? And part of getting into trouble was trying to satisfy some powers that be. But now they got into those trouble and the powers that be are not there to save them. to help them out of that situation. You know, so I've
You're on
had
your own,
cases
or
like that where I had to, you know, step in to take care of the mess legally at that point, to take care of that mess. So you rather not get into that mess. You rather have things documented. You rather take the required step. If they like, they don't take your advice, or they don't take whatever it is that you're saying, but let it be on record that you said it. If you now say you're not going to say it because you don't want trouble, just know that that trouble is somewhere. It's still around the corner. It's just quiet. It's still somewhere waiting around the corner to strike. It's like a time bomb, you know. So there are a lot of situations like that. It's very important that the chief rule of all, I will say, that we should take out of here is always document communications at work. Even as a HR person, the moment, even if they've not been doing that before, the moment you start doing that, it's like you setting up a good culture, a responsible culture. They will follow. Always
like you
document
said,
recommendations.
like you said, in the, to round it up because of time, like you
Yes.
said, it's almost 1 hour. In the safety in the safety industry, safety is a different ballgame entirely, because you work like I don't know which word to use. In the safety atmosphere, you need to be very intelligent in dealing with so many people, dealing with the workers,
A
dealing with
lot of
contractors,
intelligence, my
dealing
brother.
with your colleagues, with other contractors, with maybe a state officer or another contractor, then dealing with your own engineers, dealing with your clients, especially if you're in the middle way,
I'm
that
telling
you have
you,
clients
a
and
lot
maybe
of
a
your work is
consultant.
actually, a lot of your
You need
work,
to,
while you sorry to cut in, a lot of your work is actually more relational, more about social relations than the technical part. As a safety officer, if you just know the technical part alone, it's not enough. You
it's
have to
not
be
enough.
socially
And
intelligent
that if
and
you work
emotionally
in industries
intelligent.
like construction industries,
Yeah.
like those ones, that is why if I have a very serious issue that I know that, like for example, if a particular unsafe act or let's say unsafe condition, or you observe the trends, maybe from your data, from your safety data, you observe that there's possibility of us having an accident if this thing is not corrected. And if you fail to report it, an accident happens, is on your neck. But now reporting it might be like you want to report your boss, maybe the engineer on site, and this engineer that wants you not that doesn't want you to send mails. He always wants us to settle matters on site without sending mail. And meanwhile, if something happens, they will deny that he didn't send any official mail. So in that situation, you need to balance. If I see something critical that this thing can lead to an accident, I will immediately send the mail. I will not even inform. I don't want to know what you. I will send the mail addressing the issue, not blaming the site engineer, not blaming the contractor, but talking about the particular issue that needs to be addressed. It's now the people that I send the mail to that will now know that, okay, this and this and this is the responsibility of this and this. I will not be the one to tell them that so person did not do it, so contractor did not do it. I will just show them the location, the unsafe condition, the situation, and they will be the one to know who and who. Even with that, they will still come back to you and say, okay, I already addressed the issue, so that it will hasten up the ability for you to be able to correct them. Unless at the end of the day, if anything happens, it will be on your head. So
Yeah.
that's will take us to the end of today's
Yeah. It's really
discussion. I
been
don't
a
know if
very
you have anything to
interesting
round
one.
it up.
Yeah, it's really been a very interesting one, guys. I saw a couple of people. This Instagram live, Mark Zuckerberg, the way he used to put all those numbers on top, they are false numbers. Because the people that joined this live session, almost like 20 people, I was just seeing in and all that, waving and all that. I want to thank you all. We appreciate you. If we didn't mention your name, we still appreciate you. We saw you come in, and we appreciate your presence here. And we believe that we've transferred some kind of knowledge, no matter how small, that you've learned a lot from this session. The recorded version of this session will be available on our different platforms. Waliu's platform
Make
on
sure you save it.
YouTube.
Make sure it is saved. Make sure it is saved.
Yeah, no, this is going to be saved. No, don't even bring that up. That cannot happen. This is going to be saved. So it's going to be on my Instagram. It's going to be on Waliu's YouTube and Instagram. So please, you can invite other people to watch. It's very good. The things that we discuss on this series is very important to every workplace in Nigeria. It applies. They are very practical issues, and we enjoy you to listen. You know, there are areas that, you know, you might not have known one or two things. Now you've learned something about it. And thank you for staying with us up to this very moment. We hope to see you in our next series, second Sunday again in April. So it's second Sunday of every month. It makes it very easy for you to note and set in your calendar. It's still me, Bumi Jasmine Omeke, a lawyer, an HR practitioner from OSEC Legal Aid Clinic, representing OSEC Legal Aid Clinic, and Mr. Waliu Adegoke, a safety expert and a safety advocate representing Coda Safety Consults. I'll see you very, very soon. Stay tuned, stay safe, and stay mentally healthy in your workplaces. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of... Oh, you are resuming work tomorrow.
Sure.